Hi, my name is Fateminasab, and I'm presenting this research on behalf of our research team from both Virginia Polytechnic Institute and State University and King Abdulaziz City for Science and Technology, CAST. My colleagues are Amos Kalua, Sara Saqafi Muqaddam, Dr. Bandar Al-Kahlan, and the head of the research team, Dr. Jim Jones. This study describes the steps for choosing a constellation of smart home technologies to be incorporated into homes that are planned to be manufactured using an automated home manufacturing line in Saudi Arabia, using choosing by advantages or CBA decision-making strategy. This research is part of a larger project done by our research team at Virginia Tech in cooperation with CAST that investigates possibilities for building an automated home manufacturing line in Saudi Arabia, which is meant to offer a solution to high housing demand and labor shortage in Saudi Arabia while providing a high standard of living for the residents. For this research, incorporation of smart home technologies has been defined as one of the requirements of these houses. However, with the large variety of products and brands available today and considering the large scale of the project, choosing a certain combination of these technologies to be incorporated in those houses requires a more strategic approach. For this reason, we started this research project to develop a procedure to choose these technologies. We divided the smart home technologies into 4 categories: lighting, thermal comfort, security, and convenience. Also, a set of criteria were developed through communication with the project stakeholders and based on the literature review. These criteria are cost, capabilities, compatibility, user interface and user friendliness, cultural adaptation, connectivity, data visualization and feedback, market penetration, possibilities for incremental investment, adaptation to Saudi market, ease of installation, and additional required equipment. We defined each criterion in detail to make sure that everyone in the research team has a clear understanding about what that criterion refers to. The criterion cost is defined as the cost of the main equipment for a minimal but fully functional, including all the main capabilities, installation. The criterion capabilities is defined as all abilities which are advertised by the manufacturer. The abilities common between all options will define the baseline. All extra abilities will receive extra points. The criterion compatibility is defined as all advertised possibilities to use the product alongside or connected with another product. The possibilities common between all options will define the baseline, and all extra possibilities will receive extra points. User interface and user friendliness is defined as a subjective comparison between the user interface of all options. If possible, the comparison will be based on online user reviews. Cultural adaptation is defined as whether an option may raise specific cultural concerns. Any option that might raise such concern will lose points based on a subjective evaluation of the severity of the concern. The connectivity criterion is defined as all communication protocols that the product supports. The protocols common between all options will define the baseline, and all extra protocols will receive extra points. Data visualization and feedback is defined as whether the product provides process and present user usage data or not. The data comment between all options will define the baseline. All extra data will receive extra points. The market penetration criterion is defined as comparing the most recent and publicly declared yearly revenue of the manufacturer. Incremental investment is defined to what degree the user can start with only purchasing a minimum installation and expand it later. The options with lowest possibility define the baseline, and other options receive extra points in comparison to the baseline. Adaptation to Saudi market is defined whether the manufacturer currently has a presence, a branch, an office, etc. in Saudi Arabia or not. Ease of installation is defined as to what degree the installation can be done by a common technician. The options with the lowest need to train technicians get the complete points. Other options lose points in comparison to the top options. Additional required equipment is defined as whether the installation of the product requires additional equipment, which are beyond what is common in similar traditional products. The options with the fewest additional required equipment get the complete point. Other options lose points in comparison to the top options. Using these criteria, 4 datasets, one for each category, were developed using the information available as these products' websites. Here you are seeing a screenshot of part of the lighting category dataset. As you can see, each column in this dataset represents a criterion and each row represents a brand. Based on each dataset, a scoring table was developed, and a weighted CBA score was assigned to each brand. Here you are looking at the lighting dataset, the scoring table. As you can see, the criteria are weighted on a 0 to 1 scale. This weighing scheme was developed through communication with faculties at Virginia Tech and the project stakeholders. Then, as you can see, each brand is scored for each criterion on a scale of 0 to 100. The total weighted CBA score for each brand is calculated by multiplying that brand's score for a certain criterion with that criterion's weighing and then adding up all the weighted scores of that brand. These scores were then represented in a CBA score and cost diagram for an easier comparison. As you can see, the horizontal axis is the total weighted CBA score and the vertical axis is the cost. These diagrams were then presented to the design team for an informed decision making. For instance, if we have certain cost thresholds defined for the project, we can use the CBA score and cost diagram to find the product with the highest CBA score at that cost range, as you can see in this slide. To scrutinize our scoring method and make sure that our personal preferences and our scoring method does not affect the final decision, we repeated and compared the scores using 2 different methods, as well as changing the researcher in charge of scoring. So here you can see the results when the scoring is done by researcher number 1 using a qualitative method, which means that the researcher goes through the information on the dataset and then gives a score between 0 to 100 to each brand and each criterion. On this slide, you see the result when the same scoring method is used by another member of the research team. And here, the scoring method is changed to quantitative scoring. So the researcher would add one score for each feature that a brand has related to a certain criterion. So for example, if the brand X has 4 features mentioned in the dataset in the compatibility criterions column, it will receive a score of 4 for the compatibility. As you can see, this comparison shows that although small variations exist between different scoring methods, in all of them, the brands can be categorized into similar clusters. So we have a green cluster which has brands with high CBA scores and mid-range prices. We have the yellow cluster which has brands with mid-range CBA scores and low prices. And we have the red cluster which has brands with low CBA scores and high prices, the least desirable options. Finally, the features of the chosen brands from each category were compared to one another to decide about the communication channels between various products, namely the connectivity protocol and Internet of Things platform. Here you see one constellation of products being incorporated in one of the proposed house's plans. And here the comparison of the supported Internet of Things platforms and the connection protocols which indicate which option is common between all chosen products. That in this case is Google Assistant for Internet of Things platform and Wi-Fi for connection protocol. This sums up our presentation. Thank you very much.